And there was just something in me that was like, put your whole story on TikTok. And I was like, yeah, but this is kids, you know? And I was like, yeah, exactly. You know, if you can get a message to a kid who's in the beginning journeys of living in silence, then you can save a lot of years of pain. And then I did a video and put it on TikTok, and literally overnight it blew up. Hundreds of thousands of views. My dad told me to stay silent because if I was to speak up, I'm forcing him to confront his own story, why the alcohol was the thing. And now looking back, you know, just seeing the darkness of silence and how silence in families can get passed down like some heirloom that fucking just takes lives as it goes. You know, my dad was 48 years old and he had a heart attack, but in a way he didn't kill himself, but in a way he did, you know. The silence took him. I feel like I'm just building a movement for people to add their voice to. And that whole shift of how I looked at it made me think, okay, well, I can launch a crowdfunder. It's within the community category. Not even, now I've raised nearly £36,000 from over 1,300 people.
That is insane. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Be Brave Project podcast. As you can see, we are in an amazing new studio. We now have 3 options for our guests: audio if you're anonymous, online, and in the studio, which is super exciting. Today, I'm joined by Perry Power, survivor, author, and founder of Powerful Books and the Survivor Movement. Perry is using his voice to work to help break the silence around child sexual abuse and support other survivors in reclaiming their stories. This conversation includes lived experience and themes of trauma and healing, so please listen in a way that feels safe for you. Perry, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, Clary.
This is so exciting.
It is exciting. This is a nice little setup.
It's nice, isn't it? It's super exciting. Let's hope it all goes smoothly.
I'm sure it will.
So cool. Yeah, I'd like to first start with just you introducing yourself and a little bit about who you are and your story, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised in London as an actor, trying to chase those dreams. And so I know we share that in common. And we had, I don't know about you with your parents, but my dad was definitely the parent that didn't want me chasing the acting dream, you know. And I always remember it was my dad's best friend at the time, his wife at the time. And she took me on a walk once to the high street. She goes, I know your dad doesn't support you with the acting dreams, but you make sure you go for them. And I always remember that because I thought it was very kind. And I carried that through. And but whilst all of that was sort of going on, there was the topic of this, you know, show here is the sexual abuse I was going through from my step-granddad. But at the time, I didn't really, maybe on a deep level I did, but I'm not too sure. But I definitely on primarily a surface level, I didn't think anything was going wrong. I just thought it was like a special relationship that me and my step-granddad had, because he would like take me to the local pub. Like we grew up in Chiswick / Acton, and he would always take me to this certain pub in Acton where he would let me drink the ales or the Guinnesses when the landlord wasn't looking, which is cool, but really that was just one piece of the puzzle that represented grooming. So that when the sexual abuse did happen, it was just part of all of that mix.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know how long it went on for. I don't remember when it started, but I know when it ended, and I was 11 years old. And it happened, so this particular time, I was at my nan's house. So this was her husband. So my dad's stepdad, he was an Irishman. And we were in the living room. And I was on my step-granddad's lap. We was watching TV. There's a blanket over us. And they kind of like got a table here, couch here, facing the coffee table, couch there, facing the coffee table, with a TV there. So I'm on my granddad's lap and watching TV. My stepmom is over there on the couch reading the newspaper. And my step-granddad, he used to smoke a hell of a lot of roll-up cigarettes. And he had his hand just like over the arm of the couch. His other hand was busy underneath the blanket with me. And then his roll-up cigarette fell onto the floor. And my stepmom saw her out the corner of her eye, and she sort of lifts her head up, and she's like, she notices it. And then she goes back to reading. And then moments go by, and then she's wondering, why is he not leaning down to pick up the cigarette? So she's all like just sort of trying to understand the picture that she's seen in front of her. And then she just sees movements underneath the blanket, and then the hairs on the back of her neck just stood up, and then she then stood up, and she didn't know what to do. So she then left, walked into the kitchen, shouted my name out so that I can come into the kitchen. And then she then took me home. She told my dad, and my dad got furious towards me, confronted me about it. I told him what had happened, and he was shouting at me. And then he said, "You're not going to tell anybody about this. Don't tell your biological mother," who at the time I used to see, because my mum left when I was 4 or 5 years old. And I used to see her maybe like once or twice a year for a period of time. Then it got more frequent. Now we're like busy mates, it's great. But at the time, I see her a handful of times a year. And my dad was like, "Don't tell her, don't go to school, tell your friends, you're going to keep this just here, And that right there, two things. That right there was the moment that I realized, oh, interesting. So that wasn't right, what was happening. Mm-hmm. But also my dad became the villain of the story, whereas really he should have been the hero and the savior. But also that whole sort of episode there that I talked about in regards to my stepmom seeing it happen, I don't remember any of that. That's actually her recollection of the events. I remember snippets of abuse over the years, which were kind of similar to that setup. But it's just interesting what trauma does and what the brain does, because I don't remember a single thing. I remember like 1 or 2 snippets of my dad confronting me, but it was my stepmom that said, "No, he was shouting at you," and I had to try and calm him down, like, why on earth are you going to get angry at him? He hasn't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
And then, that's where, from the age of 11, that's where the silence started.
Wow. And was that, you were 11 when your stepmom saw it all happen, and that's when it then, obviously, then it stopped. What happened to your step-granddad then? Where did he go?
I never, because he said, "You're never going to go around her again." And I remember that my nan at the time, she used to work in Sainsbury's on Chiswick High Street. And I would go and sometimes see her at the checkout. But I never went around the house again. Okay. Because my step-granddad passed away about maybe a year or so after that. Okay. At work. He used to work for DHL, and he had a heart attack in the office. After his passing, then I'll go around there, see my nan. But I can't remember how long it was, but maybe, I don't think it was any more than 3 years or so. And then she passed away. Okay. Straight after that. She was an alcoholic, he was an alcoholic, and she just went downhill after his passing. Wow.
Goodness me. Well, first of all, that should never have happened, and I'm very sorry that did happen to you. That's horrific. Yeah, and you do talk about your dad in quite a lot of the social media clips that you put up about the fact that he was then also being abused by your step-granddad, but you didn't know that at the time.
No.
When did you find out?
I found out way after. So he passed away in 2017 from a heart attack, and up until that point he was an alcoholic. He had high blood pressure. He became a diabetic in Jan of that year, and he passed away June the 1st. And after his passing away, in hindsight, looking back, I feel like this is kind of what happened. So after he passed away, there was a bit of a release that had like this hold that had been on me. Mm-hmm. And it started to be released after his death, which is such a shame, because me and my dad, in a way, we were best friends forever. We got on. We also really butted heads because he was very controlling, and I'm very rebellious because of his controlling. But the times that we were good, we were good. And primarily the times that we were good was when he was actually sober and not drunk. And after his passing away, so there was a bit of a release on the grip that was had on me. And then probably about 6 months after, I was at home and I went onto YouTube and I saw an interview by, I don't know if you know Lewis Howes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched an interview of him, and he was talking to, there's one by Ellen DeGeneres, and then there was another one by Patrick, what's his name? Bet Davidson, I think it is. And he's just brought out this book called Mask of Masculinity.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, I think it's like the 12 Masks or something. And I haven't read it for a while now, but it just basically details every single mask that he's ever worn as a man. And on the interview, Patrick was like, so why did you write this book, you know, tell the audience? And he basically said that he was raped as a child, and he grew up living in silence. And then it was just a timing thing. I don't know. I think it was timing, relevancy, whatever it was. The universe was like, Perry, now it's time for you to confront your story.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that, it just, up until that point, I didn't really thought much about the abuse. It was so buried deep. And then when I saw that interview, it just came massively to the surface.
Yeah. And
then when I watched that, there was a voice in my head that was like, right, what are you going to do about this information?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he was talking on the interview about you can't live with this deep inside. So I thought, all right then, I'm going to wait for my girlfriend at the time to come home from work. She used to work at a pub, and I'm going to tell her. And I was with my dog. She came home. We went out for a walk, and then I told her, I broke my silence. Don't remember a single word that I said, but I remember how I felt. And from there, a couple of months later, because at the time I was a fitness coach, and I was at a fitness retreat, and there was like 6 or 7 people in a room, and I broke my silence again, but to a handful of strangers. Don't remember a single word that I said again. And then driving home, I just, it's like when you're in a certain environment where it's full of, whether it's the energy or the people, usually is two of the same things that intertwine, you're almost like your comfort zone has been expanded, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes, if you don't do anything to actively continue to step outside of that, your comfort zone will shrink back to how it was before. Mm-hmm. So when I was driving home, I was very aware of that. And I was like, I really want to get this story out there. And at the time, I used to do a lot of content on Facebook, and that was really the only platform I was on. And in my head, I was like, right, okay, how about when you get home, you can do a video and put it onto Facebook? I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then there was a voice in my head that's like, yeah, but you won't though, will you? Because when you get home, your girlfriend's going to be like, oh, so how was the retreat? And she's got her friends around, all the girls will be like, oh, hello, Perry, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to be, talking shit for hours. Mm-hmm. And then, those hours, you probably tell yourself this story or this reason as to why you shouldn't do it. You'd end up believing it. And then mid-conversation, mental conversation, I just swerved my car to the first left I saw, popped the car up, took my phone out, put it on the steering wheel. 7 takes later, put the video onto Facebook.
Wow.
And I remember as I hit upload, I remember sort of like looking out my car window, and I was just thinking, what the fuck?
Yeah, what have I just done?
Yeah, why on earth have I just done that?
Yeah.
And because it's a feeling rather than a logical reason.
Yeah.
And, feelings are very hard to describe,
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just sitting there, and then there's a voice that was like, just delete it. And I took my phone and I looked at the video, and in that whole sort of moment of just thinking about it, there was like 60-something views, but like 2 or 3 comments. Supportive comments. Yeah. But my brain didn't see the 2 or 3 supportive comments. It saw the difference between the 2 or 3 comments and the 60-something views. Because I'm like, okay, so there's 50, 60 people who've watched this, not left a comment. What are they thinking?
Yeah. Why have they not left a comment?
Why have they not left a comment, And I literally, my whole body went to delete the video. And I did it, just something came over me. I just took my phone, I threw it into the back of the car, and I just turned the car on and just started driving. Yeah. And when I got home, I got my phone, and then it just blew up. And now if you fast forward a little bit more time, I go to my stepmom's house, because I was living with my girlfriend at the time, go back home, and she's like, oh, I saw the video, Perry. And it just dawned on me, it's like, oh, of course my family are going to see it. I just didn't think about my family. And thank God, because if I thought also that my family would be watching it, I don't know if I would have posted it. That would have been an extra thing to throw in the mix.
Yeah.
And I remember just being full of just embarrassment and shame, and I didn't really look at her, and she was like, I didn't know that it happened for so long. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, when I caught it happening, I thought that was the first time. So I thought that I was luckily there in the first time, and I managed to stop it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I said, you stopped it, but it been going on for a while. So that was like new news. And then not too long after that, I went round to my auntie's house, my dad's sister, who part raised me in a way. She's like a second or third mum to me. And my auntie's there, my cousin's there, so her daughter, a couple of years older than me, she is. And so her name's Kelly. And I'm sitting there next to Kelly and my auntie's in front, and we're talking about it, and they're like, oh, we watched a video, and my cousin's like, she's like a proper actor in Londoner. She's like, if I would have known, I would have killed him, you know, all that sort of stuff. Because I knew that my cousin Kelly was also abused by him. Now, I'd always known that,
Right.
but she never really went into it.
Okay.
And she was like really fucked up. Like,
How old is she? Is she older than you?
she's older than me, probably like, should know, it was her birthday a couple of weeks ago. I think she's like 5 or 6 years older than me.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'd always known about her. She grew up, she was like bullied, and like she's, you know, really, really tough upbringing. But with the abuse, now I'd known that with the abuse, so my step granddad did things to me, he would make her do things to him.
Okay.
And she was like, she's really, really scarred by it, still triggered by it. She still can't really talk about it. And so I'd always known about it, but it was definitely a thing you just don't bring up, don't talk about.
Yeah.
Unless she has a moment where she wants to be like, fuck him or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, bit of context. And then my auntie was like, oh, we watched a video. Kelly's like, yeah, I didn't know that it happened to you, you know, other than that one time.
Yeah.
And then my auntie was like, well, Perry, you know you weren't the only one that was abused by him. And I was like, well, no, I know Kelly was as well. She goes, it was me, as in her, my auntie.
Oh my God.
She goes, and it was your dad too. And then that's when I sort of sat back. I was like, holy fucking shit. You know, and they were like yapping on these two, and I just like, you know, all of the puzzle pieces that have been scattered all came together. Why my dad told me to stay silent, because if I was to speak up, I'm forcing him to confront his own story.
Yeah.
Why the alcohol was the thing. And now looking back, you know, just seeing the darkness of silence and how silence in families can get passed down like some heirloom that fucking just takes lives as it goes. You know, my dad was 48 years old and he had a heart attack, but in a way it's he didn't kill himself, but in a way he did.
Yeah.
You know, the silence took him.
Yeah.
And that was where I was like, right, purpose. He hasn't just knocked on the door, he's kicked the door down. And it's like, I need to help as many people as possible, not go down the same road as my dad.
And helping people with generational trauma, because like you just said, that is so key in, I think, when people have experienced sexual abuse and trauma is not necessarily when other people in their family have had it done to them, but I relate to it in a way because my daughter, even though she hasn't had any of these experiences, but because of my experiences, I'm then, it's the generational trauma onto her in different ways. And it affects, it just blows up and people don't really realise it. I don't think it's very, people see it as one sort of occasion.
Sort of black or white.
Yeah, exactly. It's so complex. And yeah, well, I mean, thank you for sharing all of that, because that, you know, it's what you do is incredible. And, you know, the way that you told your story and you pulled over the car, and I know that feeling all too well, where you just have this moment of like, I need to do something. And it's crazy if you think, if you hadn't have done that, where would you be right now? Maybe, I think you probably would have told your story at some point because you obviously needed to get it out. But yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. The fact that you obviously have now created powerful books, the Survivor Movement, and when did that all come into play?
After finding out about my dad, it was more of the case of I just need to get my story out. And that sort of internal motor to just wanting to get the story out has been existent ever since the beginning of 2018.
Okay.
Until now, you know, every day I'm like, right, what new way can I share my story? What different way can I share my story? And I think when it comes to having that internal motor where you're constantly asking that question, you're going to come across different ways to share your story, right? And it started off by me doing that video on Facebook. Then it started by me doing more. Then it started by me going on to TikTok. And that was when it just became TikTok. So if you go on there, now it's different. But at that time, it was just kids, young teens doing singing and dancing. And there was just something in me that was like, put your whole story on TikTok. And I was like, yeah, but this is kids, you know? And I was like, yeah, exactly. You know, if you can get a message to a kid who's in the beginning journeys of living in silence, then you can save a lot of years of pain. And then I did a video and put it on TikTok, and literally overnight it blew up, hundreds of thousands of views. And that was the first taste of virality when
Yeah.
it came to my story. I was like, this is absolutely bonkers. And the interesting thing was that at the time I was living in Portsmouth, and I was living in a house with, this was in the pandemic, in that year of lockdown where we
Yeah.
could leave the house for like 1 hour.
2020.
Yeah. And so 2 years after breaking my silence, then I was on, that's it, yeah. So I was in Portsmouth, and I was in this house with no furniture. I was sleeping on the floor in a sleeping bag. Couldn't afford anything, and just me and my dog. And then I was on that video with TikTok, and then I had all of these DMs coming through, because I don't think at the time you could DM on TikTok, or they had to follow you back to
Yeah,
DM.
there was something like that, yeah.
And so everyone went onto Instagram and sent me DMs. And I remember, to begin with, I was like, this is crazy. And then it just kept on coming through. And there was a moment where it really fucked me up, because these people were sharing their story with me, breaking their silence, telling me that they're still living in silence, telling me that the abuse is still happening, that dad is raping them, whatever it is, like in the current, not it happened, it's happening. And I remember like looking at these messages, I'm like, what the fuck do I do? I'm in an empty house in Portsmouth. Like
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I didn't reply back to anyone for weeks. And I remember, I think I was doing like a meditation or something, and I was really thinking about it. And I was like, well, Perry, when you did your story and when you broke your silence, why were you doing it? Was it so someone can wave a magic wand and heal something or change something? I was like, well, no. I was doing it for me, and I was just doing it to be heard,
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So then I went back to those DMs and just started responding back to everyone. And from there, then I was watching a Jeffrey Epstein documentary when it just come out. And I was a couple of episodes into that. And there was this girl survivor who was saying about how she lived in silence. And it just dawned on me, I was like, what if you wrote a book? Because I had all my books here. So what if you wrote a book? And I laughed. I was like, I don't know how to fucking write a book. I was like, yeah, but that's not a reason to not do it, is it? It's just you just figure it out. So I was like, okay. And then I just got to work, and I wrote the book in 30 days. And
30 days?
Yeah, just under 30 days, yeah.
Jeez.
But I didn't publish it. I sat on it for over a year.
Yeah.
And because I wrote it, then I had calls with publishers on Zoom, independent publishers, vanity publishing houses. And bearing in mind, at this point, I really need to paint this picture. There were times where, like, I was having dinner, and I would give I'll give like half of the meat to my dog.
Wow.
And like, so that's the sort of lifestyle I was living. And I was having calls with these vanity publishers saying I've written a book, and they said, yeah, blah, 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 blah. How much? And it was talking dollars, but it was ranging anywhere between 12 to 15,000 up to 25, 30,000. I was like, all right, then this is great. And, because in my head, I was like, well, I can't do it myself, because it has to be perfect, because the story that we're writing, we're going to be insecure about.
Yeah.
Right. So I sat on it, and now if we fast forward a year, and I woke up, I had now moved from Portsmouth, and I'd moved to Guildford, and I was there in a house share, and I'd broken up from the girl that I was dating back in Portsmouth and in Guildford. And I woke up this one day, and I was like, bro, I said, you still got your book in your Google Drive folder. What are you going to do with it? Like, get it out. I was like, okay. Same voice that told me about publishing a video back in the day. And so I was like, okay. So literally within 24 hours, went onto Canva, I just got a random headshot, whacked it on, didn't think twice about the title, the font. I literally did within 24 hours, published it. And as it was waiting to be published, because on Amazon it takes up to 72 hours for the book to be authorized and published. Within that time period, I was thinking, okay. And I just felt this wave coming. I was like, I need to ride this wave, don't second guess it. Because I had a moment of like, yeah, I can fucking do this. Yeah, all right then. And I'm like, okay, the book's waiting to be published. Let me get some press. I was like, Jesus, this is weird. And I was like, but if I sit on it, then I'm like, oh no, that's too much. The book is enough, And I was aware that could come. So I thought, right now, let me see what I can do. And it was just pure intuition. And I joined some local Facebook groups, like, so where are we in Elephant and Castle? Like, we love Elephant and Castle Facebook group, so all the residents are in there type of thing. Yeah. And I just posted my story into those local resident Facebook groups. And every single one that I posted in, like legit at that time, just blew up. And now, like in the survivor movement, I teach people to do this. But at the time, I didn't know this was a thing, but it makes sense. You'll have the local journalists that live in that local place be part of those Facebook groups because they want the local stories. And then how you get bigger press is to be featured in the local press, so then the bigger press can pick that up. And that's exactly what happened. I was in local press, had photographers come around the house. I was like, this is crazy. And then from there, I was in the Sun, and all of that sort of just popped off. Then the book, and then the book went into #1 bestseller within the sexual abuse category on Amazon. And then what then happened was, it was so weird. So when it started to pop off in the press, I just had it, and it's weird. We can't. It's just a gut when it speaks to you, and it's sometimes so bloody weird how it just is so bang on point. And I remember the voice being like, "Perry, you know that the family of your step granddad exists out there in the world." Now, I'd met them when I was really young, like maybe once or twice. Didn't remember them. Didn't know who they were. We didn't really connect with them. And I was like, well, they exist. I said, yeah, but what if they see your story? Like, you're talking about, so for example, he's got kids. You're talking about their dad. They're going to, like, say some shit. And I was like, I'll deal with it when it comes, if it comes. The story goes out in the press. It was on, like, this My London website and stuff like that. So many views. And then I get a message on Facebook one day. And it was like, "Hi, Perry, this is so-and-so. Your step-granddad's daughter." And I remember I was like, holy shit, every single hair in my body stood up, and I threw the phone down onto the bed. I remember I was in my bedroom. I was like, holy shit. And then it's so funny what your brain does. I create this narrative. I was like, okay, she's gonna want to step in the boxing ring. It's fine. I'll go down swinging. Like, let's just go for it. And I was like pumping myself up. I was like, come on in. I pick up the phone. I was ready for her to say, I'm taking you to court, take it down. I'm like, whatever. And then she's like, just so you know, you have the support of our family because dad abused us all too. Yeah.
God.
And I was like, oh, fuck. And then,
man.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then they ended up buying my book, the kids.
Wow.
And I remember saying to him, I was like, you sure you want to read this? Because I'm talking about your dad. And they said, no. Yeah, we will. I said, okay. And then tell Kelly. I said, you won't believe you just reached out to me. Now, Kelly remembers them because Kelly's older than me. That difference of 5-6 years, she does remember them. And she said, oh, wow, yeah, I haven't seen them in so many years. And they are really nice people, especially his 2 daughters. I don't know much about the sons, but 2 daughters are really nice. And I said, well, I've been talking to them and they've asked if you want to meet up. And that was a huge thing. And she's like, oh, I don't know. Because one of them really looks like him. She's a spitting image of him. Yeah. Which is weird, but Kelly is quite, Yeah. And we ended up meeting up with them in Acton Park, and it was just crazy. Like, lots of sharing, lots of them apologizing, us saying, well, it's not your fault. You're survivors too in this situation, And lots of healing, love. And she was like to me, one of the daughters, she's like, do you know much about my dad's past? And I said, I have a feeling I know about his past. And the reason why is because once upon a time, have you ever seen Spotlight?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great film.
It's a great film.
A great film.
I haven't seen it in ages, but that's a great film.
Yeah, it's so good. And my dad at the time kept on wanting me to watch. Like, I'm a big movie buff, so was he. Yeah. We'd always sort of passed along films, and he kept on telling me to watch Spotlight. I didn't watch it for a while, for no particular reason. And then one day I watched it, and I remember we was sat in the car outside the house, his house, and he was like, so have you seen Spotlight? I was like, yeah. And he said, well, okay. He goes, at the end of the film, before the credits, they list up all of the reported casings all around the world of the Catholic priests and the brothers that have molested kids, and it's all part of the same case. I said, yeah. He goes, well, one of the areas that's listed there, which is a place in Ireland, was where your step-granddad was raised. And I remember I always remember him saying that, and I was like, and for a moment I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. And there was just silence in a car. And then it just, the cogs started to tick. And then I kind of like, oh. I was like, and just these words came out. I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense then. And my dad flipped shit. He's like, what do you mean it makes sense? Doesn't excuse him for doing anything, you know? And he was like screaming, gets out the car, slams the car door shut. And I'm like, why are you pissed off? I was the one that was abused, you know? And because, but in that moment, I was saying, oh, Dad, you know, it makes sense why he abused you, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's all I knew. And I said that to her. She goes, yeah. She goes, and then I found out that my step-granddad, his parents passed away suddenly. Him, his brother. He had 3 other sister siblings. The older one didn't have to go anywhere because she was old enough. She didn't need to go to a school. But him and his brother went to a St. Joseph's industrial estate, which was a Catholic boarding school for kids, primarily for kids who come from broken homes and stuff, poverty and stuff. So them 2 went there. The 2 sisters went to another school run by the nuns. And like one of the sisters now is deaf in one ear because of the abuse that the nuns dished out. And then if you just Google it, you'll see all the reportings that have come out of St. Joseph's Industrial Estate of just how they would make kids be naked and stand at the top of stairs and be public shamed, you know? And then there was this one where they all sleep in bunk beds, and oftentimes at night, a brother would come in and would just, on the side of a bunk, you're the chosen boy for that night, and then you would have to follow the brother out.
Yeah, it just makes me feel sick.
It's vile. And he went to that school, and I said to her, I was like, did you ever like speak to your dad about it? She goes, we would ask him like, Dad, did anything ever happen? And he would always only ever give the same answer, which was, I did what I had to do to protect my brother. Mm-hmm. That's all he said. And, you know, so that's like that sort of story. And it just shows you just how it can be passed down. Yeah. You know, thank God my dad didn't abuse me, so the abuse didn't get passed down, but the silence got passed down. And from there, I then did my book, as we know. And then maybe like 6 to 12 months later, I had someone reach out to me and said, hey, Barry, you've written your book, I'm a Survivor too. I want to figure out how I can write my book. Can you help me? And I was like, I have no idea how to help you. I don't know how I did mine. And then we then moved on, and I was like, I had this vision of, I was still on the acting path, but I hated the traditional acting path because I didn't give a shit about doing a commercial to hopefully try and be seen, you know? I was like, I just want to act in the shit that I really, really care about. And some people say you got to earn your stripes as an actor, and you'll get to that stage. I'm like, I'd rather just cut out the middle and just jump straight, if I got to be honest. And I was like, I'll make it happen. And then I had a vision one day where I was flicking through like scripts and pitch decks and you know, and I was like, this is weird. And I have lots of like visions, but it felt like I had some way in creation of those. And it just dawned on me, I was like, well, if I can help her write this book, that's a true story. Maybe eventually I can have a production company that can start to turn this true story into films. Mm-hmm. And then I ran with it. And then I launched, helped her write that book. And then that then led to a next book, and then led to a next book. And I was like, oh, maybe I should actually formalize this and make it official. Launched a publishing company, Powerful Books, 28th of Feb, which in 4 days' time would be I think 3-year anniversary. And only August last year, I launched it on my birthday, my 30th birthday last year. And I launched a production company. So we're on 27 books published now with Powerful Books. And yeah, and then I was incredible. Like, yeah, it's been crazy because I started it as a publishing, strictly as just a publishing sort of program. Yeah. And it very quickly turned into just a healing and growth personal transformation program. And I didn't realize, because I didn't write my book to find healing. Mm-hmm. I wrote it to impact others. And so it wasn't strictly through that lens. But I wouldn't say all, but I'll say lots of people who join write to find healing, primarily. Definitely. And then as they get further into the writing process, then because they've found a lot of healing, then they're like, oh, maybe this can actually be for others. Maybe I do actually have the confidence to publish this to hopefully just help one person. Yeah. And that's when I really realized what it was. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I think talking of like that, how you were saying you wrote your book more to impact others, but then obviously it's become sort of a healing journey for you as well. I think this podcast is definitely that as well. I wanted to do this podcast to help just one person, but it's actually, this journey has been a massive healing
process for me, which I wasn't prepared for. I didn't go in thinking I'm going to heal myself. But it has been talking to other people as well. And it's really inspiring talking to other survivors that have been through similar things, but everyone's story is so different, but the parallels are incredible, like how we are all so similar, the impact on it and how we've dealt with it and stuff. So yeah, incredible. I would love to move on to the survivor movement that you've created. Did you say that was what you then created last year?
No, so last year was the production company.
The production company.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you're doing with your film.
With the film.
Right, got you. Okay.
Yeah. So launched that last year. But I launched it last year because it was like a symbolization to the universe. Because I'd always, in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna quote unquote make it as an actor in my 20s, and it's all gonna be cushy. and then I'm like 30. I'm like, and like I was like, I cannot be in my 30s still telling myself the same story. I was like, it just can't happen. So as soon as I hit my 30th, I'm like, right, universe, you better fucking, I'm going for it,
Give me something.
Yeah. So I launched a production company, Powerful Films, Powerful Productions, but trading as Powerful Films. But just as a symbolization, I hadn't started anything yet. And I think I loosely started writing a script with my story.
Okay.
And I'd written a script before, but not in a serious way. It was like during COVID, that lockdown year, and I just wrote one so I can escape into a universe that wasn't the one that I was living in.
Yep.
But this one was the first serious script, and I've been writing that, and then, and that's just been a crazy, crazy journey, really, really crazy journey. But specifically about the survivor movement, I expanded Powerful Books into the survivor movement. Some Powerful Books is under the survivor.
Okay,
it's within it. Is within it. And because I think primarily because I just feel like there needs to be a movement of trauma survivors who are walking the same path to change the world in their own unique ways. Whether you're a cancer survivor, a survivor of losing a partner, so grief, trauma survivor, DV, sexual abuse, whatever it is. If you've been through it and you're here today, there's other people who are currently still stuck where you once was.
Yeah.
And you have a voice to raise and to be heard by others.
Yeah.
And that's why I expanded it into the survivor movement, because I'm like, writing a book is just part of it.
Yeah.
Utilizing press, getting into the media, doing a TEDx talk, podcast, a documentary, a script is all on the journey of raising awareness.
Yeah.
So that's why I expanded it to the survivor movement. I probably only about 4 weeks ago now.
Oh, okay. So it's really...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And now people join, and there's already been such a mix of people joining, whereas before it was strictly someone would join, I'm ready to write and publish a book.
Okay.
Whereas now people would join and like, I like the idea of, you still have people join who like, I want to write, and they go straight into the Powerful Books pathway within the survivor movement. But some people like, I just want to be in a community of other survivors.
Yeah.
So I'm not on my own. Because a lot of times when you've gone through something, you're not necessarily surrounding yourself with people who've been through similar.
It can be incredibly isolating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just knowing other people that have gone through it. I mean, I'm part of the survivor movement.
Yeah.
I joined a couple of weeks ago, and I just seeing other people write on it and knowing that you're part of a community is really important, because it is incredibly isolating.
Yeah. You
do feel like you're completely solely on your own, which you're not. And it's a horrible thing to think about, because there's so many people that have experienced it. But I would love to also talk about your film as well, which you talk about on your socials a lot. So can you just talk us through how that's going and how you went and you got to where you are with it?
Yeah. So I was in a process of writing a script. And have you ever written a script before?
Sorry?
Have you ever written a script before?
I have actually got my short film, but it's one of these ones that, again, it's kind of been in the folders for a really long time. But
Have you filmed it?
No, not yet.
So you've written a script for it.
It's written. It's actually with some people at the moment. So who knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was the process for you writing that script?
Actually, I mean, I'm probably one of many that have written a book, but again, in my folders, never nothing's ever happened with it. Written a script again for many, many years. It was in my folder. And it's only really since starting this podcast that I've gone, right, okay, come on, Chloe. I need to look at the things that I've got, that I've written, and get them out. Writing the script, I found weirdly quite easy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's not the right word because it wasn't easy, but it kind of just flowed. And I don't know whether it's because of my creative background and the fact that I was an actor and I know how scripts are, like how they flow and what you need to do and what you need to write. And but I had the vision.
Yeah.
And it kind of just
came out.
Yeah.
And what is it connected to your story or completely different?
Yes, in a way. So it's more about how you have. So I've always sort of looked at my trauma as little Chloe has always been there, and she was the one that was keeping me silent, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And I always used to, and I know this is going to sound trippy, but I always used to see her in situations like little mini me everywhere. And I used to think that I was seeing like a ghost. And so it's kind of based on that. So I go through, and I had a lot of trauma in my 20s. I didn't talk about it, and it came out in lots of different ways, like alcohol. I was out a lot, all of that sort of stuff. So it's kind of based on that, and seeing the little Chloe in the background trying to scream for help, but you're not listening to her.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
powerful. That is.
Yeah, that's kind of where I've gone with it. But it was very easy for me to just. It was one of those things that I just had in my head, and I could visualize it. I'm a very visual person anyway. I see things, and I know how I want to execute them. But then it's quite hard to then execute it. So, but my script, I found it really therapeutic as well.
Yeah,
actually.
I bet.
Yeah.
Especially with that topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, can't wait for that. That'd be
Yeah.
great. So the issue I found with my script is that I was very close to the story.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, I wanted to make it as true story as possible, which is great. But oftentimes, the timeline of events in real life doesn't necessarily translate well to a 3-act structure script. Mm-hmm. And that was what I was having really big problems with. I remember sitting down with the director after he read my script and goes, "This is very well written." He goes, "But I can tell you're very close to it." Yeah. I was like, "Well, that's interesting." And he was the one that made me aware to it. Anyway, and now it's had about 26 revisions. But it's in a place now where it got to a place where, like, this is great feedback. And have had a script consultant on it. Yes, this is good. Mm-hmm. But it gets to a certain point where it's like, there's always something you can change with it, depending on the person who reads it, because they're going to have their own worldview, their own artistic abilities, all that sort of stuff. But bottom line is, it told the story that I wanted to tell, and I was happy with it. And then I started to submit the script to festivals. I mean, this can be a whole separate episode conversation in regards to festivals and how the industry works. I find it fascinating. Half the shit I didn't know about, but I love it. And so I started submitting it to a bunch of places and started to pick up some awards, which is great. I remember when it won the first festival in Hamilton in Canada. That was amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was amazing. And now I'm at Manchester Film Festival next month. Wow. It's a quarterfinalist there, which is sick.
That's incredible.
And then for 28th of November, I'm always going to remember that date. I remember being like, right, because I'm like, well, I've got this script. I'm like, what's an ideal world? Ideal world, I don't know. A24 can just pick it up, if I want to let them have it, and it will get 5, 10, 15, maybe $20 million budget, all that sort of stuff. And then I'm like, that may very well happen, but half of that shit's outside your control. Mm-hmm. So what would you do right now if the only way this film was going to be made is if it's within your control? Yeah. I was like, fundraise, I guess. Just crowdfunding. And I was like, okay. And then before I set up once upon a time, I set up a crowdfunder before I even, beginning stages of writing the script. And it raised about £3,000, which is brilliant from those people who donated. But I know that maybe you can do a short film for £3,000, and even that's a massive push, Yeah. But I was like, I can't do a feature. So I didn't have a lot of confidence that it would work. Yeah. But then the morning of the 28th of November, I was like, right, I'm just going to do a GoFundMe. And something just felt like, I think it's because the first time I did the crowdfund, I was like, I'm raising money to make my first feature film. This time, I was like, I don't really feel like I'm raising money to make a first feature film. I feel like I'm just building a movement for people to add their voice to.
Yeah.
And that whole shift of how I looked at it
Yeah.
made me think, okay, well, I can launch a crowdfunder. It's within the community category, not even, and now I've raised nearly £36,000 from over 1,300 people.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So and there's many things I've learned to help me get to that point. But bottom line is that's where we're at. I've got on five producers at the moment, and one of them in particular is the person who's going to try and help, because he's very connected out in LA, and he's a person who I'm allowing outside of my control to try and make the big things potentially come in, like the studios and the money.
Yeah.
But I'm letting him do his thing, and I'm just focusing on, we're going to make the film with what the GoFundMe raises.
Yeah.
And if he comes along one day like, Perry, we've got this meeting set up. All right,
perfect.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a good mindset to have.
I think it keeps me in control.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is needed, because otherwise, I had a question, like, I had this conversation with myself, like, how long would I wait until I say, okay, we're going to greenlight this? And I'm like, there is one argument, which is, well, if you want to do this film properly, then you shouldn't mind if you wait 5 years.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, that's true. If I was doing a drama or an action or something like that, and I am technically doing a drama, however, I'm like, but I truly believe that I want to do this film because it's going to save a lot of lives. It's going to help a lot of people break their silence. So every single day that this film is not being made and not released, it's,
Yeah.
So I've mentally maximum by the end of this year is what I've given myself. Ideally by summer, but by the end of this year, it's like, as we're coming towards Christmas, we're going to greenlight this, whether it's just a GoFundMe money or it's outside sourcing. But we have such a good tax bracket in the UK as well, so that's going to help to add more budget to it.
What is the target on the GoFundMe?
The minimum, this is crazy. So I have a minimum target and I have a dream target.
Okay.
Dream target is between 1 to 3 million.
Okay.
And that's which I feel like can happen. I feel like it can. I went to Rhode Island because it was a semi-finalist at Rhode Island Film Festival, and I was there first half of last year, and there was this guy there who had a film who was $100,000 budget. As soon as he got the 100,000, that allowed him to then go up to $1 million.
Okay. Because
he had built a lot of foundation with the 100,000.
Yeah.
And so that's what I feel like could happen.
Yeah.
But the first financial target is 150K.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is because I've never done any of this before, so I was like, 150K is the first target. If we hit that, then I'll go up to 250. And that's how I'll keep on going.
Yeah.
And then I had one of my producers who's done budgets before for feature films. She came back to me this Sunday just gone with the budget for the film. And this is like a bare bones minimum budget. And I read it and it said 151 grand. And I asked her, I said, did you do this film budget around the GoFundMe target? She was like, no, it's just what it came to.
Okay.
I was like, well, that's
good.
A coincidence.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the goal.
So it could happen with the target, but obviously your dream is to...
Yeah.
Well, you've got to have aspirations, and you could 100% could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So my goal, ever since I wrote it, my dad, I want Stephen Graham to play. And I'm trying to find ways to get past gatekeepers and just put the script in his hand.
Yeah.
So
I could so see him doing that as well.
I
mean, he is a phenomenal actor.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah, and he's just...
And in those gritty...
Yeah.
He is...
Yeah. And he's very much... He looks similar to my dad, his mannerisms. Yeah, if you put on a Cockney accent onto Stephen Graham, that's my dad.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. Well, I wish you all the luck with it. I really do. And the fact that you've raised just over 30,000 is incredible.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, and that is great. But for me, I see the fact that 1,300 people have donated.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, if that doesn't tell some producer out there with a slightly deep pocket, hey, listen, you better, and what's also interesting is that Dan is the exec producer, and he contacted me a few weeks ago. He goes, "Hey, Perry, can you put like a spreadsheet together of just some of your viral reels, so he can take that into meetings with other people with pockets that are deep, and just to be like, Perry's got some views on his story. So imagine now if we create a film behind it." But anyway, I was like, sure. I ended up creating a spreadsheet, and then every single one of my reels that have done over 100,000 views, I didn't account for anything 99,999 and below, 100,000 and above, and I'm just shy of 99 million views.
What?
On my story over the last since 2018. So when I saw that, I was like, it filled me with so much confidence of like, hey, listen, now I'm like 99 million views on my story. Now imagine if it was done in a way where it's behind a very good quality film with a good marketing campaign attached to it. It's a viral story.
Yeah.
So I just like, it can work for a viral film.
And I understand why you want to get it done, because like you were saying, you could wait 5 years for it to be perfect.
Yeah.
But it's such an important thing to get out into the world. You're helping so many people. And those views on your TikTok story it shows that. Like, and the fact that you've had 1,000 people donate, again, like that's resonated with 1,000 people, regardless of why they've done it.
Yeah.
They've obviously got
There's a connection.
Yeah. And it sort of puts it all into perspective, really, doesn't it? And you kind of think, wow, there's a lot of people out there that need people like you and other people that are sharing their story to them think, right, okay, if they can do it and they're okay, then I can be. And I think that's so inspiring and important.
Yeah.
So
appreciate it.
Yeah. No, what you're doing is incredible. And like with your books and the community and the film, I wish you all the luck with it. And I can't wait to see the film when it comes out. It's going to be great. So just to sort of wrap up, because we have been filming for nearly an hour now, which is crazy. It's gone so quickly.
Sped.
It has. It goes so quick. So yeah, one question I love to ask all my guests at the end is, if you could speak to your younger self and they were right here, right now, what would you say to them?
I would say, interestingly enough, I wouldn't say anything to do with the abuse and stuff, because I don't know if I would have listened or heard it properly. So I probably would only speak on the thing that really took over my entire life, which was the acting side. And I think that my dad, every time I would fuck up, my dad's punishment to me was he would put me into my bedroom and he would take everything away. He would only give me pen and paper. And I'd have to like ask permission to leave to go to the toilet. I have to shout out. And but what that done, that isolation, was it led me to sit there and mentally, like you said it earlier, about how you can visualize things, and I can visualize details like this, like this room I can see in my mind, and I put that down to just daily visualization as a kid, but not knowing what visualization was. It was just to not be confined to a space with just pen and paper in front of me. And I think I would tell that kid that those episodes of visualization and your dad punishing you are all to serve a greater purpose, which will become very apparent as you're older, because the stories that you can visualize will be put to good use to help change the world and impact other people who will be able to benefit from seeing those stories. So, it has a purpose. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Because I would just see at the time as just being punished, whereas I can see it like it's being done to me rather than it being done for me.
Yeah.
That's what I think I'd say.
I think that's really powerful. Really powerful. And even though, what your dad did was not nice.
Yeah.
But yeah. And also talking on like the visual stuff, I found out not long ago that not everyone can do that.
I was going to say that. I was like, but I don't know how much time you had. But
blew my mind.
It was crazy because I think I was with my girlfriend recently, and I was talking about this. And, and I was saying, like, if I close it, she's like, yeah, well, picture this. I'm like, yeah, like right now I can see a glass of water on a wooden table that's drenched in because it's so cold. It's got condensation all at the bottom. And she's like, "That's how the fuck do you even just see that?"
How do you do that?
And I'm like, "How the fuck do you not see it?"
It blew my mind.
Yeah,
I was
it's
saying
crazy.
to someone, they were like, "I can't do that."
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And then I saw this. Hang on, I think it was TikTok actually, where someone was saying you ask people to picture an apple. Some people can just picture like a drawing of an apple. I can picture it like you were saying about that glass. I can picture it like I could go into my mind and
Grab
take
it.
it and eat it.
Yeah.
And and that is, for me, because I'm such a visual person, always have been. It really blew my mind. I was like, wow, okay.
I think we're blessed. I think that's why it's very artistic, you know. And I don't know if you saw this as well recently, but there was this woman. I read this whole article about this woman who just one day internal dialogue started. She lived her whole life where there was no internal dialogue. There was nothing. So she's looking out of a window. She's seeing it. But she's not in her head thinking anything. And just one day, internal dialogue started where she actually thought about things. And she realized she just had this absolute meltdown over the fact that her parents are going to die one day. And then she
do that every day.
She said to her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's like, "Well, yeah, of course they will. We've never thought this before." And that's when she realized, I've never thought anything before. There's never been. And I'm like, how do some people even live? Like,
I don't, because my internal dialogue is going on right now. Like the fact that I'm doing this, and I've still got about 1,000 tabs ticking over, going, right, I need to do that. I need to do that. I need to do that. But I'm concentrating on what you're saying. But I need to do that. Yeah, I think that is definitely.
But in some way, she's blessed, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because when I put my head on that pillow and I go to sleep, it takes me, because I'm going over and over and over, and I'm going over everything that I did, and I visualize everything I did that day and what I could have done, and I should have done that, and I should have done, but I'm going to do this. It's great because it's great when you're wanting to be artistic and when you want to be when you're wanting to be creative, but sometimes you just want to silence it, and you can't. No, you cannot. Really quick, and I think we've got just about 2 minutes left. Also, I wanted to ask you, what message would you want survivors that are listening right now to hear from you?
Healing and growth doesn't happen whilst you're living it in silence. So if you're living in silence, and you'll know if you are or not. I think if you're living in silence, then you need to break the silence. But when I say break it, I don't necessarily mean following the path that I took. I don't necessarily mean you need to tell your partner, because you could tell your partner, and whilst they might not reject it, but they could pause for a bit too long because they need to think, well, how should I respond? But that pause you could have read into, and now you've seen that as rejection. Now you associate your truth with rejection. I feel like you need to break the silence to yourself, and what you're doing there is you're putting a lot of weight on something that's outside your control.
Yeah,
and we need to keep that within us. So you need to break the silence to yourself first in as many different ways as possible, because each time that you do that, you start to take ownership over your story. And when then eventually you do tell someone, you're not telling them hoping that they'll believe you. You're like, well, I would like for you to believe me, but if you don't, that's kind of on you, because I know what happened. I know the truth. But that is a level of control that you need to build up. And if you kind of broken your silence, or you feel like, you know what, I actually do want to help other people in my story, then just know that a lot of times the reason why you haven't done that yet is because there's fear of the unknown. What if people don't see my story online? There's crickets, family members. And I feel like the fear will always be there, but what you need to do is make the purpose greater than the fears. As soon as the purpose is loud, you'll hear the fears, but you're like, I hear you, but I have to do this, because if I don't, something could happen. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's a really hard place to be, because fear, it's like, I always say that I've got two Chloes on my shoulder, like the fear of, no, don't do it, and then going, no, this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
And it does take time to get there, I think, as well.
It does, yeah.
Because that fear of rejection, that fear of people not believing you, it comes in so many different ways. And like with what I'm doing now, I'm thinking one day I'll go, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? No one's listening. No one's even watching my videos on Instagram and TikTok. You know, no, this isn't not helping. And then days I go, no, I've got to keep going. I've got to keep going. So,
and that will just happen a bit less as you move on.
I'm hoping so.
It will do, because I had the same thing.
It's still quite loud.
Yeah.
So
it will do.
And talking about that, where can people get in touch with you if they wanted to join the Survivor movement and follow you? What are your... I can put them all at the end as well, but yeah.
On just the easiest place, two things. You can either go onto iamperrypower.com or social media, Instagram, iamperrypower. I'll come up. But very quickly, how long would you say it's been since you have been open with your story and up until this point now, should be sharing?
Oh, I mean, I came forward in 2017 to the police, and my dad didn't know about it. My sisters did and my mum did, but my dad didn't. And then it was 3 years during like the investigation and the court case, and then it was 2020 that I came forward on Instagram and told people my story.
Okay.
I didn't do it in a video. I took a photo and I just wrote, and I did have an amazing response. I had about 400 likes on it. I mean, it's not massive, but it was people, and I had a lot of comments and a lot of DMs like you did.
Yeah.
This happened to me. And then I thought, oh God. And it was only a couple of months after he was convicted. And 2020, we went into COVID as well. And I kind of felt I should be feeling okay. Like I found justice, but actually it was then a massive spiral for me. And I had a bit of a mental breakdown in 2022. I was really poorly, physically really ill. So it's only really been in the last 6 months, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And I've wanted to do this for a long time. I've wanted to do my story. And I'm going to say, 6 months where I've gone, right, I'm ready now.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time.
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's taken a long time to get to this point in 6 months. And with the nagging voices of the reel hasn't got that many views and stuff like that, it's,
That's a real thing.
Yeah, it's I think that's, you've come a long way, and I feel like 6 months, when I said, it will get easier with doing social media, and and it will, but you're always going to have, I get some videos, like especially on TikTok, I'll do a video and I might get 300 views, and I'm like, hold up, I've got 151,000 followers on it. What the fuck is this about? And I'll be very aware of that cycle, and but it's also interesting because I did another video reel 6 days ago. That's now on 1.3 million views 6 days ago. I haven't posted another reel within the last 6 days. Wow. Now I'm also aware of the opposite can happen, where you do blow up, and then but you don't post. Yeah. And it's just I don't feel like that will ever go, but I feel like the awareness of it happening will be quicker. Yeah. And then you can just keep going.
Honestly, social media is a minefield.
It does my head in.
It does mine as well. I mean, it's fantastic for so many things, but oh my goodness, it is the devil in disguise, I think, in so many ways, because you can really get in your own head about it.
I can see myself one day, I've always thought this, where I will not have any social media. Yeah, I mean, I can see myself at some point in the future where I feel like I've done enough on this planet, social media wise, and I built something that can exist that's not with me in a way. Yeah, I get you. And I see it a lot later in my film career. That's why I can see where I'm like, right, because there's a lot of good, but I have been aware that there's a lot of comparison, there's a lot of negative thought loops, and it's just, you got to pick your poison.
Comparison is a massive word for that. I do that a lot, and I'm really trying to stop it. Comparing myself with others on Instagram, and you can get into a really vicious, toxic cycle. So, but Perry, thank you so much for your honesty and your work that you're doing. It really matters, and you're helping so many people. So, thank you so much. You're not alone, anyone that's listening, and you can reach out to Perry if you need. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you so much, Perry.